Well, I could talk about this topic for the next 19 hours, so feel free to stop me because I'm fascinated by this. Because as I said, I love being the producer in the room who can adjust and do something different for whatever's going to inspire the people around them. So I think I've written, the songs that I've written that I think are really great, which is a low percentage. I mean, written hundreds, if not thousands of songs. Songs are really great. I think they've basically come about in almost every way you could think of. They've come about with, I have a word that I'm really into and a loose concept, and then we write from there. Here's a track that I made, and then somebody writes a vocal over it that imitates that something that's in the track. That's definitely happened. Writing a song where the vocal gets written and sung along before there's any chords. Somebody just starts singing, and then a song is built around it. Pure tracks of a chord progression, and people write a whole song over that progression. Great songs I've been a part of have happened in every one of those configurations. And it is a really interesting way to think about it. I think it's one of the reasons that a couple of my sessions last week, people really wanted to write over tracks, because when you have an existing track, it is limiting in a way that can be very interesting. A lot of people try to write new chords to get out of, they're like, oh, I don't know what I'm doing. Let's change the chords here because we're stuck. I'm almost always of the belief that if you're writing to a track or you're starting on something, that changing the chords is not going to make your melody better or not going to necessarily inspire something. But of course, it also does sometimes. I think oftentimes people try to make things more complicated because they don't like what they're doing. This is a very pop songwriter thing. People are always trying to do something more clever or more different or more strange. And that's usually never the answer. You got to kind of go more truthful and more confident and more real. But also it does work that way sometimes, where all of a sudden you do a tempo change and the 1 out of 1,000 times that works, it's the greatest thing you've ever heard. Or you do a key change, or you do whatever. So there's one of the things I like so much about this process is that it actually can work in all these different ways, and it rarely becomes this magical moment, and you just don't know how it's going to get there. There's certainly things, I think, when people try to complicate stuff by adding more, it often doesn't make things better, but very occasionally it does. Most of the time it's, let's get more to the core of what we're trying to do emotionally and say it simply and say it confidently, and don't be afraid of how vulnerable and simple it is. But there's also crazy changes that happen too. I don't know. It's a fascinating process. Like I said, I think there's some of the Nashville stuff where people are like, because we're writing to tracks, we don't have the ability to go change a bunch of chords, and it causes us to color between the lines in a certain way that's exciting to people in Nashville who don't get to do that a lot. There's definitely lots of ways to do it.
Thanks for watching. Just a reminder, all of this content is free. There's no secret knowledge here. There's no Patreon. We don't read ads. We don't have sponsors. We're just trying to build a knowledge base. All that we ask in return is that you share it with somebody. Thanks so much.